All right. Welcome to the People's Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Doug By, here as always with Mike Rossi, G Money, and Andrew Garganese. What's up, boys? How's everyone doing?
Mike, you look so good. Why don't you stand up, give us a twirl, a little spin around?
Mike, kind of explain what you're wearing today.
Well, I mean, if you look at it, it looks like I'm the Steelers fan and Joe hates the Steelers. He's one that Kenny Pickett sucks at football behind him, but I lost the bet. Yeah. Man of my word. Joe finally brought over the jersey, brought over the hat. So Jordan Love was not a top 10 quarterback like 2-3 weeks ago. I think he ended up 12 or 13, right, Joe?
Yeah, he was like 12, I think.
So here I am. I feel disgusting. I feel ashamed. And the worst thing of it all is I smell like Joe. And and Joe, do you keep mothballs in your closet? Because his jersey smells like mothballs.
Like so the jersey's been in the closet in
How'd you get that little
basement for a long time. I haven't worn a football jersey and I couldn't even tell you.
Oh, your parents have mothballs, I think.
Joe, have you ever been to a Steelers game?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. I went to a Steelers Saints game out there. My brother got us field passes. It was pretty dope.
Nice. All right. So Mike's a man of his word. It looks good on you, Mike. Looking good.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it does.
All right. So today's show, we're changing up a little bit, right? We're going to be talking about our midseason fantasy football awards and just talk about MVP, best keeper, biggest bust, biggest surprise, best and worst takes from all of us. So that'll be interesting. And then we're also going to have Joe's beef of the week. We're still going to have pickups and drops and Andy's QB stream of the week. Let's jump right into this thing. Mike, who is your MVP at the halfway point here?
MVP, CMC. Christian McCaffrey's number 2 overall for points per game, only to Josh Allen. So he's actually the number 1 overall for points per game on positional players. And most of all, he's actually consistent. So his worst week so far is 13 points. And obviously it goes way up from there. So when you have somebody that's week to week consistent and he's getting the numbers he is, Andy, let me know if I'm wrong on first overall positional, because I know you're looking it up. But
yeah,
CMC's the MVP.
It is. It's CMC, but it's A-Chain because
it is A-Chain. Yeah,
but it's not really. It's CMC. Yeah.
Points per week is A-Chain. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, he's averaging like 0.6 more, 0.7 more, whatever it is. Oh, actually, it's 1.2 more. But it doesn't matter because he's only played like 4 games. So
I'm glad one of us picked him because he's the low hanging fruit, but one of us had to take him, and it's Mike's boy. Yeah. So yeah.
I knew Mike was going CMC, so I immediately just crossed him off my MVP list because I was like, I know where he's going.
Same, I figured. Joe, who's your MVP?
So mine's Tyreek Hill, and I was wrong because I thought Jalen Waddle was going to outscore him this year, and boy, was I wrong. Tyreek.
So we're saving the worst takes for later.
Yeah. He's getting out ahead of it. Getting out ahead of it
now. Tyreek's already got 1,000 yards. He's got 8 touchdowns for a little guy. I mean, he's the best receiver out there right now, and nobody looks like they can stop him.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I fucking hate it, but it's not wrong. He's ridiculously good at being fast and catching footballs.
Yes, he is.
Andy,
what about life, Doug? Is he good at life?
Yeah, that's debatable.
How do you feel about him as a father?
Yeah. Would you leave your kid alone with him?
You're gonna open up a daycare when he retires. Anyway, I'm not gonna stop ragging on him because he's also my MVP. He's unguardable. You don't actually, I think I've said this before. I used to rag on him. I thought he was a little bit of product of Andy Reid and Mahomes. You couldn't run crisp routes and all that, but turns out you don't have to when you are that fucking fast. It's incredible. He's just been, I don't know, he's a league winner, hands down. Even though he's a first rounder, like he is just outperforming what everybody thought.
Yeah, he's unguardable. He's on pace for over 2,000 yards, which would be the first receiver ever, I believe.
Yeah, Calvin Johnson missed it by fucking 8 yards or something.
Yeah.
20
yards. He's had 1 week. He's had 1 week under 10 points. Anybody know who they played that week?
Patriots?
Andy knows. Andy knows.
Was it the Bills?
It's the Buffalo Bills, 8.7.
Oh shit.
How did T. Higgins do last night? God damn it.
That guy has some hands. Those hands are
Yeah, man.
strong,
Strong.
man.
Strong hands.
Holy
Strong hands.
shit.
Of all
Way
people,
better than
Andy
Gabe
brings it
Davis.
up.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Let's not talk about it.
Yeah. Let's
Doug.
move on. Let's move on. I went a little more outside the box here, a little bit. I went Raheem Mostert. I think he could probably be MVP, best keeper, or biggest surprise, and you guys might have him at one of those. But he's the number 2 running back in half PPR right now, number 9 overall, including quarterbacks. Most explosive offense at the midway point, except for this past weekend. If you drafted him, it was in the last few rounds, and you're most likely in the playoffs unless you're Joe and your entire team just got decimated by injuries. But I think for most people, I mean, he's a surprise, but also he's a beast right now. 605 rushing yards, 11 touchdowns, 19 receptions for 151 and 2 touchdowns. And he's not too far behind CMC actually, as far as points go. So I don't know. I like Raheem Mostert a lot. I wish I had him on any of my teams. I don't have him on one. So
Yeah.
Kudos to you, Joe, for drafting him late though. All right, Mike. Best keeper. We're going best keeper?
Yeah, best keeper. So I would not have Raheem Mostert as my best keeper because I have the other man in the backfield over there as my best keeper, and Devon Achane. I know we only saw him for 3 real games, but we saw what he could do, and the guy is just explosive. And when you put him in this McDaniels offense where you just scheme his speed and just have those breakaway runs, it's beautiful to watch. And Mostert, again, he's 31 years old. Maybe I was wrong that he's not going to do it all year. Maybe he's going to do it all this year. But next year, 32 years old, you have to imagine that this is Achane's backfield. So 12th round ADP, that's a good keeper.
Yeah, you can't argue that. I think you're right, though. I think this year, as long as Mostert stays healthy, it is his job. I like Achane for next year. But he also could just be that change of pace back, you know, like we're seeing with Pollard this year. I don't know if he actually has that body build to be like 16 to 20 carries a game.
But even if it's 10
might not
carries,
matter. Exactly.
That's
might
fine.
Not
Yeah.
Might not matter. All right, Joe, who's your best keeper?
So Mike with his guesses earlier before the show was right with one of the 2 guys. It's Travis Etienne. Etienne was ADP 27. So that means just at the beginning of the 3rd round. And right now he's running back 3. You're getting what I think is going to be a top 5, top 7 pick next year in the 3rd round. This offense, I think, is focused around him. They still need to run the ball first. You know, Trevor Lawrence is a good quarterback, but I think this team goes where Travis Etienne takes him, and I think his receiving is only going to get better. I don't think he's been as involved in the receiving game as he should be. He's still been a decent amount, but I think when they get down the stretch closer to this playoff hunt, he's gonna be the bell whore. Or bell, or what's the term? Cowbell. What's the term?
Bell cow.
Bell cow.
I
There
think
it is.
Bellhor. I think Bellhor was good.
Yeah, Bellhor works.
Bellhor.
No, that was a total slip. I don't know what the hell that was, but then I needed help.
Bellhor. I'm using
Cowbell.
that from now
I
on.
just kept it
actually
going.
really like
Yeah, I like it too.
Mark Bellhorn, man, love those Red Sox.
Andy, who's your best keeper?
My best keeper is Sam Laporta. I looked up stats or ADPs. But anyway, preseason, he was 150th ranked person. He was tight end 17 and his ADP was 159. So that is the 3rd pick of the 13th round. He is tight end 4 on the year in a position where you need tight ends. So if you can get a fucking top 5 tight end in the 13th round, he's young. The offense just seems to get better every game. Last year, this year is better. Everything that Dan Campbell's doing out there looks like they're building on something. His role should probably expand going forward. And the crazy thing about him being tight end 4 this year is the hard part of his schedule is actually already done. The back half of this year for him is easier. So there's a legitimate chance where he finished with Hawk not having Kirk Cousins anymore. There's a legitimate chance that he could squeeze in behind Andrews, maybe even ahead of him, be tight end, 2 or 3 at the end of this year.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Doug, how does that make you feel?
I think I'm going to be a little itchy.
It could be painful.
Could be very painful taking that
Did
hair
you
off.
trade him?
No.
The 100 catch thing.
Yes.
I'm going to lose that
way
bet
can-
for sure.
Yeah, the way Kincaid's been getting targets with Knox down, you better hope Knox comes back quick.
It doesn't matter because Laporta is not going to drop out of that top 12. It's already done. All right. I agree with all that, by the way. And also, like, I think everybody thought Jameson Williams, when he was going to come back, that was going to take away from him, and it hasn't at all. So, and then he's only going to get better next year. I agree. All right, my best keeper, I went with Rashee Rice. His average ADP on Fantasy Pros was 172nd pick, which is round 14. He has the best quarterback in football. He's the number 1 wide receiver on that team right now already as a rookie. He's the 36th wide receiver in half PPR right now, just behind Garrett Wilson, which I was surprised Garrett Wilson. What's going on right now?
I don't know.
What is happening?
I knew Andy was laughing.
Why is he
Sorry,
laughing?
Doug, just keep going. Just keep going.
Every time when I'm speaking on a guy, Andy just loses his freaking mind. I don't even know where I was now, but I would say that. Anyways, Rashee Rice, he's my guy. All right, Mike.
Yep.
Biggest bust.
All right. Biggest bust, Devontae Adams. This guy's a bust. ADP round 2. He's currently the wide receiver 16, which doesn't seem bad, but he's had 36 points in 1 game, so obviously that inflates it, and he hasn't had a bye yet, and other teams have. When you do his points per game, it's 11 points per game. He's actually the wide receiver 26, and remember, that's still with an inflated 36-point game. 6 out of his 9 games, he scored less than 10 points, 2 of which were 3.9 and 1.6. Guy's just a dud.
Do you see it getting better second half?
No. I mean, maybe a little bit better, but not enough to save him from this list.
Yeah. So he's not a buy low for you this week.
Mm-mm.
Joe just got rid of him in my league not too long ago, right? Out with the
Get out.
trash.
Deontay Johnson was the best player in both my trades.
Yeah, he was a beast this week.
Very good.
He looks good.
Joe, who is your biggest bust?
So I couldn't decide between both of these guys. Both these guys weren't drafted too high, but they both just have been so bad compared to last year and what I thought they were going to do before the season started. Daniel Jones and Geno Smith. I put a tie with both these guys. Daniel Jones, obviously he's done for the year now, but he had played 5 games before this week. And 4 of the games, he was single digits in points. I mean, I knew his passing wasn't great, but I thought with Waller, he was going to do better. And then he still had the running ability. And then Geno Smith. I mean, quarterbacks that got more points than Geno Smith within the same amount of games. You got Josh Dobbs, Baker Mayfield, Russell Wilson, Jordan Love, CJ Stroud, and Sam Howell. At the beginning of the year, if you told me that all those guys were above Geno, I would have laughed in your fucking face. But, I mean, Geno has had moments where he's looked like the old Geno Smith. And, I mean, I hope for this team, because I like watching the Seahawks with their offense, that he bounces back. But right now, it's not great.
Yeah, I hope he bounces back too. He does. He looks like garbage right now. He does look like the old Geno. And with all that talent around him, that's inexcusable.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Andy. Biggest bust.
All right, first, I wasn't laughing at Doug's take. I looked in the bottom corner. I saw Joe's face, and all I could think of was Mr. Beaker from Sesame Street. For anybody that doesn't know what that looks like, that is all I saw. That is all. And I just could not stop laughing. My biggest bust is Miles Sanders. The man is borderline droppable at this point, right? Preseason, he was the 47th ranked player, running back 19. So we're talking a mid-tier RB2, mid to back end. And his ADP was 49. So first pick of the 4th round. So 12-team league. His preseason rank was 47. He is running back 47. First pick of the 5th round. Thanks, Mike. He did miss a game, and I know he's a little bit banged up, but when you drafted him as a running back, and I was the running back 2 on his own team, he's been a complete schmuck. 6.3 fantasy points per game. Just a bust. Horrible, horrible bust.
Yeah, you and Joe have both been down on Miles Sanders for weeks now.
I got to say, I was looking through when Mike sent out the email about like our preseason rankings, and thankfully nobody out of the 4 of us were high on Miles Sanders. So we did something right, boys.
Yeah. Well, Joe will tell you something else, even more than that. Just wait a little while.
I'm going to touch on a little Miles Sanders too in a little bit. We got a lot of Miles Sanders talking to us. All right. I think you guys are going to push back on this one a little bit because it doesn't seem like you're coming off yet. However, it's up till now that we're talking about. And I'm not saying he's not going to get better. But right now, my biggest bust is Bijan Robinson for where you drafted him, right? So he was ADP 7th overall. Currently, he's running back 14. And overall 56, including quarterbacks. Like he has been efficient. I mean, he's been averaging 5 yards a carry. A lot of this is Arthur Smith. A lot of this is Arthur Smith's doing. I'm not saying it's Bijan, but that was kind of our point early on in the year, right, Joe? Like where we were kind of like, he's a rookie running back. You just don't know what you're going to get out of him. And
keep that snap count low.
Yeah, Algier was coming off a really good year, 1,000-yard year. So I didn't see them sitting him at all yet. And that's kind of been what's happening. But he only has 3 touchdowns through 9 games. And again, I mean, that was our take before, Joe. So I'm sticking with that. I think we kind of nailed that one.
Yeah, Algier's getting those red zone carries too. Anything inside the 10, he's the primary guy.
Yeah.
The man is averaging 11 carries a game. That is, if you can't fire a head coach over something that, I don't know, but you could 11 carries. Every time he touches the ball, it's
nothing
electric.
Nothing about that offense makes sense, right? Heineke is the best quarterback on the team. Jonnu Smith is the best tight end on the team. And Algier is the best running back on the team. You tell me how that makes sense at all.
Did you see 2 things to go to the Arthur Smith and how bad of a coach he is? Did you see they ran a jet sweep with Jonnu Smith in the red zone?
Yeah.
Like you have, if you're gonna do a jet sweep to a tight end, you have Kyle Pitts.
There you
What
go.
the fuck? But no, but you don't do a Jonnu Smith. But you have
timeout. Did you see the screen pass that Jonnu Smith blew by?
So
everybody
I was actually
touchdown?
just going to say that. I don't think we've given Jonnu enough
Jonnu
credit.
Smith is slow or not like athletic. The dude took a freaking screen pass like 60 yards for a touchdown.
No, I didn't see that, first of all. But second of all, you can't say he's fast.
I think he is fast. That was actually always Jonnu's
Well, you
thing.
need to go watch the play. He blew by he had a hole, but then he blew by the safeties in the secondary.
Jonnu was always an
outran
athletic
everyone.
freak. Just nobody knew how to use him, and I don't think he's a good route runner.
But he's jet sweep fast. I don't think he's jet
fast
sweep
enough.
fast.
I mean, he's probably faster than Pitts, honestly. He probably is faster.
No way.
I don't know, man.
But anyway,
look up the 40s.
Second point I want to make.
The 40s.
Did anybody see the video of Arthur Smith's son, who's like, I don't know, 3 years old, and he was wearing a headset, and somebody was recording him, and he said, I'm calling a play. I'm gonna give it to my favorite player, Bijan Robinson. And it's like, dude, it's your son's favorite player. Give him the fucking ball, man.
Or maybe his son should be coaching.
Yeah, right.
Jonnu 4.62.
4.62. Okay.
Oh, he's faster than I thought.
Mike, biggest surprise?
My biggest surprise is Adam Thielen, as Joe would like to call him, but it's Adam Thielen. He was ADP round 13. I mean, I'm not going to pick him as a best keeper because he is 33 years old, so I'm not going to keep him this late. But he's wide receiver 8 on the year. And when you take out week 1, which was obviously Bryce's first NFL game and Thielen's first game with the team, he's averaging 18.5 points per game. So no one really saw this coming. We all said there wasn't going to be any options. And if there was options, it was, DJ Shark or one of the other wide receivers, but everybody kind of wrote Adam Thielen off, and he's proven us wrong.
I like it. Joe, who's yours?
So I'm not going to talk a lot about him because he was already talked about a little bit, but same thing as Mike. I wouldn't take this guy as a keeper because of his age, and he could split a lot of time next year. But Raheem Mostert, obviously he was going very late between rounds 12 and 15 in people's drafts. A lot of people were taking, if you drafted early, had your draft early, you were taking people were taking Jeff Wilson ahead of him. A lot of people took Achane ahead of him. And obviously the guy's been RB2 right now. He's been super explosive, getting tons of touchdowns. So Raheem Mostert, even though I picked him, I never saw this kind of stuff coming from him.
No, nobody did. But I figured one of you guys would have him as the biggest surprise. Andy, who'd you go with?
All right, this is going to be a little bit long-winded because I figured for sure somebody was going to go C.J. Stroud, so I didn't take him. I thought C.J. Stroud was going to be a bust. I'm not entirely sure he's not the best quarterback in the NFL, so I apologize there. My biggest surprise that I wrote down, though, was the Rams' young offensive talent, Puka and Kyron Williams. Both of them have just been incredible when they're playing. I know Puka's slowed down a little bit here, but if you drafted them, which you probably didn't, you took them at the very, very end of your draft. And if you got a waiver wire pickup off of them, you got wide receiver 5 currently, and you got running back 11. Or in points per game, you have wide receiver 10 and running back 4. Those are astronomical numbers with incredible keeper potential. It's just, they've been great, way better than I ever would have thought of coming into the season.
Yeah, especially from undrafted players. I don't think I was in a draft where either of them were drafted. People would be like, Puka, who? You would have gotten made fun of for that.
I mean, we're in a lot of leagues. I'm in one league where Puka got drafted. So
yeah,
that's it.
Oh, wow.
1 out of 6.
Somebody knew.
Somebody knew. Or they were hammered.
They just like the name.
This guy's name is Puka.
All right. Mike, I loved your take, man, because I went with Adam Thielen as well.
Nice.
And you said all the points, so I don't need to talk. We don't need to talk about him anymore.
It's a nice quick one. I want to give an honorable mention to Zach Moss because he's been a surprise. We all thought first of all, no one thought it was going to be him, and then even after it was him, we thought he was just going to fall off the face of the earth when JT came back.
Yeah,
and none of that is true. So
he was on my short list for sure, and I'm glad someone did Puka as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, Mike, on to best and worst takes from us.
Right.
So why don't you say them both? Why don't you give both? Why don't you give the best and the worst?
Right. The best take, it's kind of hard because who likes complimenting each other in this group? We don't want to compliment each other, but my best take, I'm giving it to Andy. It wasn't preseason. It was the start of the season, but he consistently told you at the beginning of this year not to give up on the Bengals offense. And I went back and I looked at some shorts and some videos to get some takes that he said. And after week 2, he told you to have a short memory, better days to come. After week 3, me and Joe had the whole Bengals offense on the panic meter of 8s and 9s. Andy had him at a 2. And after week 4, Burrow and Chase were both on our panic meter. We all had somebody at least a moderate or higher, and Andy was mild to none on all of them. So just patience with the Bengals offense. And it came to fruition last night, right, Andy?
I was just going to say, I'm sure he's so glad.
What a transition.
Yeah. You know what? On a side note, those are 2 of my favorite teams to watch. They're both likable teams. I like them both.
If I could watch the Bills when they decide to play, and only when they decide to play, that'd be great.
Yeah.
When they decide to take 2 quarters off every game, and you never know what quarters they're going to be. Could be fucking
Mix it up.
Could be 3 and 4. You don't know. You just don't know. So fun.
All right. Did you do? You didn't do worst take.
Oh, worst take. We're doing them both.
Yeah.
My worst take. I'm giving it to you, Joe.
I knew it was coming.
I know. Yeah. League winners. You said that Daniel Jones and Darren Waller. I got to call you out on it. Not only did you say that, then you doubled down and you made Daniel Jones and Darren Waller your best late round stack. And then you tripled down and you made Darren Waller your buy low candidate after the bad start to the season. So just had to call you out for that one, Joe.
It's all right. A lot of people had that. A lot of people were high on Waller.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Really thought he would change the whole scheme of that offense, and he didn't.
I like how he tripled down though. That's great. He was all in.
Yeah.
Committed.
Okay, very
Hot committed.
Yeah.
Once I went twice, why not go a third time?
He just didn't want to do any more research. He's like, you know what? I already know about this guy. I'm just gonna keep talking about him. All right, Joe, who's your best and worst?
Best take. I think we may all the three of us may go with this guy because we probably have the least amount of confrontation with him. But I went with Andy's pick on Andy had in the rankings that we all made had Keenan Allen 16 spots higher than any of us. And Keenan Allen has just been a stud this year. I think the three of us still underestimated him overall in the rankings and where he should go. Obviously, I think it was only because he hasn't played this week yet, but he's 7 points away from being wide receiver 4, which he'll probably get no problem tonight. So the guy's going to be a top 4 wide receiver. And I think we all had, I think besides Andy, we all had him ranked in like the low to mid 40s in our overall draft board. So Andy obviously hit a home run, and, he even said it in that we all underestimate Keenan, and he keeps doing what he does.
We do. I think it's age. I think it's injuries in the past. But
Just
now
catches everything.
He does.
Catches freaking everything.
Joshua Palmer out now too, right? He's on the IR. So Keenan Allen might be a top 3 guy by the end of the year.
Oh yeah.
All right. Joe, who's your worst?
Sorry. Worst take, all 3 of you. You had Miles Sanders not only in your top 100, in your top 50. He wasn't even on my top 150 board. I left him completely off that list because I just thought I'll be honest, it was a stretch. It was a little bit of a joke when I did it, but he doesn't deserve to be anywhere near that board. Guy is garbage. He was a product of a good offensive system and a good offensive line.
I love how Joe's worst take for us is just a compliment to himself. That's all he was. He just wanted to compliment himself. That's all it was.
Did a good job with it. All right. I think he just forgot to put Miles Sanders in his big board. I think that's what it is. He just
I'll be honest. I got to put him in the top 150. I didn't want him in my top 100. I'll admit that.
And the one that Mike sent us, Mike forgot to put Debo in his. I was scrolling looking for if anybody was like super high on Debo, and I could not find him on Mike's.
I knew it.
Undraftable by Mike. Just not touching that man. All right, Andy, what's your best and worst?
My best take goes to Mike. We talked about this pregame. It's the Kenneth Walker league winner. I think Mike was higher on him than I certainly was. I was a little bit lower on Kenneth Walker coming into the season than I should have been. But his ADP preseason was RB 16. And as of right now, he is running back 8 on the season. So we all know that the running back position's light. It's tough to find a good one. So if you hit on Kenneth Walker, you listen to Mike, you got yourself a stud in whatever round he was going. 4.
I think 4 or 5.
4 or 5, yeah.
4 or 5,
yeah. All right, what's your worst take?
Oh, my worst take. Joe already fucking B-rabbited himself over there, but it's him saying that Waddle is going to outscore Tyreek. Boy, was that fucking stupid. I wanted I wanted to, make sure that you didn't forget that one. I also want to make sure that Mike
Yeah, 15,
was
15.
kind of, sort of like, hey, you're onto something. So, but yeah,
Yep.
boy, that was bad.
I think I was
do
very
appreciate-
hopeful that he was onto something, but
I like Joe though because he's just gonna, he just doesn't give a fuck. He's just gonna say something that he believes, and it doesn't matter. And so I do appreciate that, Joe.
Thanks.
I like
Fuck, I was dumb though.
it. Waddle's had a really bad year though, and nobody saw that coming. All right.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah, stop doing. All right, my best and worst. At best, I'm going back to Joe with his Miles Sanders take. I looked back at our show. It was like our 4th show ever, and we did a fantasy awards show. And Joe had Miles Sanders as his biggest bust in that show. So props to Joe on that again.
A win.
And that's the last time. That's the last time we do that. Ever, Joe. Never again do you get a props about anything.
What was
But
everybody else's bust? You remember?
who was everyone else's bust? Yeah. So yes, I do remember. So because my worst has one of us in it.
Yeah.
So
I think all of your busts, besides the one you're gonna mention, which is mine.
I think we hit. Yeah,
and,
because
I
mine
think
was Bijan.
Andy's. Yours was Bijan and Andy's was Najee. So those are all
Yes,
good
yep.
calls.
Oh,
Yeah.
Good work, boys. Who was Mike's?
We'll get to it. We'll get to it. We'll get to it now. Yeah, why not? So worst was Mike saying that Mark Andrews will be the biggest bust. Now, I will preface it by saying he made it very clear that it was biggest bust at ADP. He didn't like Mark Andrews being drafted in the early 3rd round. Early 3rd, I think it was.
Yeah, it was.
That sounds
Early
right.
3rd was his ADP. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you didn't like that. But he's currently tight end 2 right now through 8 games. So it's very justified that he was picked where he was picked. He's just 8 points behind Kelsey, and he leads all tight ends with 6 touchdowns. So I will say, looking back at it though, or looking at his stats, I think he's not getting a lot of targets though. And again, we do talk about how they are Lamar targets. So I'm a little concerned with that the rest of the way. But he's getting the touchdowns, and I still do think he's Lamar's favorite guy. So currently he is tight end 2, a very justified early 3rd round pick.
Yeah, yes. I was wrong.
All right. Good job. Good job, boys. I think for the most part, we've been right more than we've been wrong. It's just we've made some bold statements that didn't quite work out. And I don't think I had a
feel
worst.
like when we were
Go ahead.
When we were early in the podcast, I feel like we almost felt like we had to make some bold takes
For sure.
to make a name for ourselves, but
It's
you
obviously
don't have to do
worked.
that stuff.
Went so well.
Yeah, it's worked.
I'm not stopping. I like bold takes. I'm going big. Go home.
I don't think I had a worst or a best take by any of you guys just now.
No.
So I've been like, I'm
Oh,
just
because
right in
we
the
beat
middle.
Madison. We've beaten Madison to a pulp
Yeah.
already, Doug.
We absolutely have. But
And Doug, but just because like your just like your draft strategy, flat across the board, Mr. Neutral.
it's just boring. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it is. You make the standard pick. It's very standard.
Okay. All right. I thought
Didn't like
Bijan.
that comment.
Yeah. Well, here, let me defend Madison real quick. One more time.
Yeah.
Because I was off the
Jeez,
Madison
he's
train.
back. He's back.
I'm a little bit back. Well, Akers got hurt, right? Madison currently is a running back too. He's 24th running back right now. Who's behind him now? It's just him the rest of the way. I think he's going to remain a running back too the rest of the way, and probably creep up into that high end running back too.
Keep dreaming.
Where does he finish, Doug? Where does he finish?
He finishes RB. No, he finishes mid range. He finishes RB 18.
Wow, cracking the top 20. All right.
All right.
And that's with Dobbs at quarterback.
Yes. Yep. But I like their schedule. I like their schedule coming up. And if Jefferson comes back, man, I still like their team. All right. Good job again. On to the next. Joe, you don't have a hat to turn around backwards, but it is time for Joe's beef of the week. So Joe, take it away.
Go for him.
So you guys talked on this topic a little bit on the podcast that I missed on Wednesday or Thursday of last week. And it's got to do, and I wasn't completely sold up until this week, but it's got to do with the games in Europe. And you can't have the game of the week be that game. I am okay. I understand that there's a lot of money over there and they want to get into that market. They see how much money goes into soccer. But there's a time and a place for a game to go over there. And you can't have a game like the Dolphins and the Chiefs that everybody is looking forward to watch, that everybody wants to see light up the scoreboard. The over-under on this game was 50.5. Yes, we had the Bengals and Bills on Sunday night primetime, another game everybody was looking forward to watching. But this was the game that we thought was going to be the most entertaining, and we got a complete, utter fucking dud. The Dolphins had 292 yards of offense. Does anybody know what they normally average for offense?
450?
400.
I was gonna say 425.
435. And they couldn't even get 300 yards. Chiefs had 262. They averaged 368, I believe it is. It's just you can't. There's too much that happens with these guys. There's too much that changes how they go into these games. I'm sure there's a lot of concern about injuries with guys not doing the same amount of practice in the week with all the traveling. You can't have your best teams on the best game of the week going over there and doing this, because this is a disappointment. It's a disappointment to fans everywhere. People probably wanted to live bet the shit out of this game, thinking how entertaining it was going to be. And you let them down. You let down all the NFL fans on the West Coast because you lost a lot of that with the time difference. Like, it's a fucking joke to have a prime time game like this over in Europe. And what are we doing? Keep the creme de la creme in the country. Don't fucking waste it over there. And fucking let's have good football here. That should have been a Monday night or the Sunday night game, and it should have been a fucking 41-34 game, and we all would have fucking enjoyed it versus what we had to watch Sunday morning.
That's one of the year.
I like him.
Yeah.
Kelsey got what? 2 catches? Think he would have done that in America?
Catches for like 17 yards or something like that.
Dude needed an all-American hamburger before the game.
Yeah, it was. I think we were talking about it in the group message a little bit. I thought it was entertaining in the end because of how close it was, but it was a trash game. Like it was not a well-played game.
Your last 2 minutes is not going to make up for a whole bad game like that was.
Well, that being said, you're not going to have that problem next week because it's the Colts and Patriots in Germany. That's this coming week.
What belongs in Germany?
Yeah, that's much
they
better.
They can stay
yeah.
there.
Keep him over there. Bill can stay over there. Not that much. All right.
Can you believe the
I
guy
handed
won
amazing
six
how quick-
Super Bowls?
It's amazing how
Six
quick they
Super Bowls. Jesus
We haven't made the
Christ,
playoffs
dog.
in a year.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute. And last time we made the
This guy-
playoffs, your Bills just embarrassed us. So
Man, I would hate to do something wrong as his friend. He's just gonna fucking disown me.
all right, let's go to our pickups and drops. Mike, you got some guys that you're targeting more than others?
Sure. I put Quentin Johnson on this list. We already touched on it a little bit. Josh Palmer on IR. So he's gonna start getting some more playing time, and they draft him in the first round. So it's his time to prove himself. He's 35% owned, and he went 5 for 50 yesterday, which is his biggest game of his career. So I think more of that to come. Or last week, was it? So he went 5 for 50. Yeah, last week he went 5 for 50. And then the drop on that status, Raheed Shaheed. I think you can go ahead and drop him. He's 53% owned, so most people, some people still have him, but I'm done with the guessing game with him. You never know when the boom is going to come, so just get rid of it and get the guy that you know is going to have the time.
Agree, especially this time of the year. You don't want those boom busts as much. You want a little more reliability. Who was your pickup? I'm sorry, I had to plug my computer back in.
Quentin Johnson.
Quinn Johnson, like it.
Yeah.
Joe, you got guys?
So I didn't do a drop guy, but we can just throw Miles Sanders in there, get rid of him, take off your team. But I like Luke Musgrave, man. I think this. I put him at least on your bench if you have a good tight end one right now. Hold on to him for bye weeks because I think he's going to be a pretty good boomer bust guy. I think they are finally. I'm hoping that this week was a sign that they realized Aaron Jones needs to be the focal point, and Luke Musgrave probably has the best hands of any of the receivers on this team. And I'd give him a shot to pick up. Other than that, I didn't have too much that I loved out there. I did like Josh picked him up in one of our leagues, but Noah Brown obviously had a huge game. If he could be a good bye week fill in as well.
Yeah, I think he's strung together a couple good games here, hasn't he? Can't remember what he did last week, but I think it was pretty solid.
He was hurt at the beginning of the year, so there wasn't a lot of attention for him at the beginning of the year. But it's tough there because now you got Nico, him, and Tank Dell. So
I was just gonna say that
it's gonna be tough.
Yeah, there's too many mouths to feed now on that team. And
Now
Dalton
with
Schultz.
I know Andy's doing the
Dalton
same
Schultz,
thing. Now with Stroud.
Stroud just threw for 470 and 5 touchdowns. I think he can feed a fucking city. That guy. Let's just God.
All right, you got anyone, Andy?
Yeah, I got a couple. Keaton Mitchell. I don't think we'll see what he did yesterday again, but he still. I mean, if he gets more touches or consistent touches, he's only 5% owned. He's probably worth burning a ticket on and burning some money on. Repeat from last week, Khalil Shakur. He's still in there as long as Knox is hurt. They're going to be running 11 personnel, and he's going to get a lot of playing time. He looks good with it. So he's a pickup stream player. And then tight ends, Cade Otton. He's gotten 6 targets in his last 3 games minimum. I think yesterday he got 9. He's only 6% owned. So there's a tight end stream for you, pick up, and a little bit of a homer pick, but the Bills did not run the ball at all. I don't know what was going on. They didn't even try to run the ball. And when Latavius Murray was in, he was literally just there to pass block or lead block for Josh Allen. So that makes me think that they're unhappy with that whole running back room, and Leonard Fournette might be worth a pick up because he does, he can catch the ball out of the backfield and he can pass block. So he might have a little role carved out for him already. He's 31% owned. So if you're really running back desperate, he might be worth going to grab.
Yeah, there's something they don't like about James Cook. He's pretty efficient when he runs the ball too. I don't know. They really haven't been a very run heavy team though since Josh Allen is.
Well, that's the Dable kind of got to use Josh Allen at 100%, right? Because nobody had any expectations a few years back. Josh Allen was considered almost a bust. He's huge. They would run those, quarterback draws, the quarterback sweeps, whatever you want to call them. And nobody cared if Josh took a hit. And then all of a sudden he blows up. And, Ken Dorsey's kind of handcuffed because now Josh can't take too many hits, right? The fans complain, the media complains, everybody complains. Josh can't take too many hits. So you got Ken Dorsey's handcuffed. He's only got one hand to play with, basically. And then the Bills, they don't really get going until Josh gets out there and starts fucking talking shit and running into people. And it's just, you got to win games, but you got to keep people happy. It's a fucking mess.
Pointing fingers at people.
That was funny. And then they didn't do anything.
I thought it was funny too, honestly. And I don't understand the flag. I thought the flag was pretty ridiculous. Tyreek Hill gives the peace sign to a guy every single fucking time. That's not taunting. But what are you going to do? Do you have any drops?
I feel weird with the drops, man. I don't know what people's rosters are. Like Rashid Shaheed, there's so many worse people on my rosters. I would be so happy to have Rashid Shaheed on 80% of my rosters. So I don't know.
What about Miles Sanders? You okay with that?
No, get him out of there. He's a bum. Send him back to Penn State.
All right, I want to circle back to Keaton Mitchell. How much you guys spending on him? Just throw out numbers this week for waiver.
I have $15 left in one league. and I put it all on him.
Okay. I
And
want to
it-
know for my own personal gain here.
16.
Harbaugh came out and said, I'm sure there's going to be a rotation. That's what, when he was asked about the running back room, it's a rotation. I know that there's potential, but if you need a win now, you're not like plugging them in right away, right? Like, you're not confident starting them next week, right? This is something more of if you end up winning the role or Gus goes down or something, you can have in the playoffs. So I don't know how much I'm really spending on him, but I think 15 is a good number.
Joe, you agree?
I mean, I'm the Gus Edwards guy, man. I'm sticking with my
That's
touchdown machine. I think the kid did look good in the couple spots he got. If I didn't have Gus, I will say I'm gonna be partial because I have him. If I didn't have Gus and needed a running back, then yeah, I agree. I'd probably take a shot with 10 to 15 on him. I think that is a good range to try to get him.
That's probably a good number at this time in the season, because that's a pretty big number right now with most people not having the cash to spend. I was trying to look to see what he did yesterday because he was super efficient.
Yeah, I think it was like 9 carries for like $1.35.
9 carries for
Like,
138 and a touchdown. Yeah. Yeah. Every time he touched the ball, he looked like he was going for it. So, all right. I have a few other names on here. We'll just run through quick. Demario Douglas is still only 28% owned. He's going to continue to get a bigger role there. I don't know why you're laughing.
I fucking love your takes.
I don't.
You're not
don't
playing
like-
them in Germany next week, though, right?
Maybe. There's no other
What
receivers.
did he do this week? Did he do anything this week?
He ended up getting 8 points, but I think he almost caught like a 24-yard.
Yeah, Juju almost caught that final pass too.
No, Juju's another story. Zach Charbonnet, I was surprised, is only 38% owned. Jonnu Smith, 28% owned. Put some respect on him, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Hunter Henry, another Patriot, 29% owned. He had another touchdown this past weekend. And again, with him being thin at receiver, I don't hate him. Royce Freeman, 24% owned. Andy, you had him against me this week. He's getting the carries. He had like 12 carries, but he only had like 34 yards rushing, right? Something like that.
Yeah,
I
but
started-
they're
I
on a
started-
bye this week.
Yeah,
They're on
Karen
a
might be
bye
back.
this week, and they're saying Kyron's going to be back week 12. So if you pick him up, it's basically a week 11 only.
Yeah. Yep. And I don't know. I put some drops down, but again, it is very team specific here and how your roster looks. But I think Roshan Johnson, I think some people could drop him possibly at this point in time. Kenneth Gainwell, he's on a bye this week. He looked pretty good this past week, actually, but Swift's the guy there. And with it being on a bye, maybe some people need that roster space. Josh Reynolds, Romeo Dobbs. Dobbs hasn't done too much lately. Justice Hill, maybe, with this Keaton Mitchell kid coming on. Jamal Williams, I think he's a drop candidate. I think I said it last week, too. Taysom Hill's taking all that. And Brandon Cooks, man. Brandon Cooks is just talk about falling off a cliff.
Because I called him my sleeper.
Yeah, exactly. And any Giants wide receiver, you can probably drop any of those guys.
I'm not dropping
Fucking-
Wandale. I'm keeping Wandale.
For who? Who's throwing them the
It's
ball,
ugly.
Mike?
I don't know. He scored a touchdown even without anybody good throwing him the ball.
Who is going to be the quarterback there? I mean, that's the question. We'll
Is
see
it-
what
I hope that
happens.
they just line up in Wildcat and they let Saquon throw like 7 times. That's what I want.
I want the Titans to do that with Derrick Henry, honestly, because whenever
Jump
he's
passes.
yeah, dude, whenever he's the guy, receiving the snap, he looks so much better than any quarterback over there.
I mean, Levis looked good
No,
Thursday
Levis,
night.
Levis is coming out.
Yeah.
I actually do like that kid.
One name that we didn't bring up, but he's 48% owned, but I think he's above everybody here if he's a free agent, is Tank Dell. He was the number
How
1
is
wide
he
receiver this week.
48%?
I had him at
Yeah,
52 on
that's-
Fantasy Pros, which is why I didn't
Either
like
way,
him.
those are
It's
he should
still
be in the
obnoxious. Those
60s.
are
Yeah.
obnoxious numbers. 60s.
Yeah.
He should be in the fucking 80s.
Yeah. If Tank Dell is a free agent in your league, just burn your first ticket, whatever you have to do, get him on your roster, because when CJ Stroud can go out and throw 470 and 5 touchdowns, you do half of that and he's still going to have a good game. So gotta have him on your team.
Yeah,
That's
I
fine.
will say I'm a little nervous about Nico Collins now. Because he only had 3 catches for what, like 56 yards or something like that. So that's 56 yards out of 470. So, like I didn't love that. And I think his yardage came early too. He got that touchdown in the first quarter.
Do you
So
guys know who the wide receiver 1 and 2 are on the week?
1 and 2 on the week. No, I do not. Who is it?
It's Tank Dell and Noah Brown
Noah Brown.
are 1 and 2 on the week.
Wow. Yeah, it was
Ah,
that was a monster performance he put out there.
you could
All
have
right.
probably got Shroud, Tank Dell, and Noah Brown for like fucking $10,000 total. Not DraftKings, too. 11,000. The same price as Tyreek Hill. Oh, fuck.
Seriously.
shit.
I did see that. I think the guy who won the mill had Noah Brown.
You
That's
have
all
to.
it
That's
takes,
what you
man.
got to do.
You
You got
just
to
gotta
find
hit
that
'em.
guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Andy, you got some QB streams?
Oh, indeed I do, sir. Let me just find them. All right. First up for me, I got Josh Dobbs. He's at home versus New Orleans, 17% owned. I do like New Orleans defense, but I mean, Dobbs just performed all year. All year, I've been underestimating him, and all year he's been proving me wrong. So 17% owned for Dobbs. Taylor Heineke, he is at Arizona. Arizona's booty. He's only 11% owned, so
Booty.
he could go get him. That's a nice spot start for you. And then if somehow both of those are gone, Will Levis is a solid option. He's at Tampa Bay. They're not very good either defensively, but he is 44% owned. So probably one of those top 2 guys.
Well, Tampa giving up 470. That's not a bad option.
That's not a bad option.
Pretty much anyone who faces him, I think, should be the start of the week. All right. Tonight's game, Chargers Jets. Any bold takes? Any thoughts on that?
I just saw Keenan Allen has 9,930 yards in his career. So nothing bold, but Keenan Allen gets his 10,000 career receiving yards tonight.
I need a big game from Chargers defense, please.
You might
Made a
get
big
that.
mistake. Made a big mistake and dropped the Raiders defense. I had the Raiders defense picked up all week, and I dropped them yesterday.
I feel like we're Joe's bookie right now, and he's just. I'm so sorry.
One more week.
Made a big
I
mistake.
need one more week.
Yeah, one more week.
Keep me alive. The Monday night chase.
How'd you do this week in betting? All right. Have you ever won a week?
College. I've won a few good college weeks this year, but NFL has not gone well this year.
Oh, ever.
NFL.
Ever,
Have you,
ever.
Let's
Joe, have you
let's-
ever
let's
won
make
a
a
bet?
point. Yes. So last I do a lot of
What are you doing
prop
with your
bets,
phone?
and I'm
Put your phone down.
getting sorry.
He's just-
He's getting nervous. He's getting nervous. His hands are shaking.
I need to go make a prop bet right now. Eckler touchdown though. That's my prop bet tonight.
Oh, you got one out there. All right. Eckler touchdown.
Yeah. It's mixed in with a couple NBA things though.
You parlayed it with some NBA stuff, did you?
I love prop
Why
bets,
wouldn't you?
man.
You got cricket in
I
there? or
love
what else
prop
you
bets.
got?
Russian ping pong. You gotta go Russian ping
Russian
pong.
ping pong. Yeah, that was big during
There you
COVID.
go.
All right, Mike, any thoughts tonight? What are you thinking?
No, I don't know. It's a good offense versus good defense. So we'll see who comes out. That's it. I don't really have any thoughts on it. No fantasy implications for me this week.
I don't think
all
I
my
do
matchups
either.
are
Yeah.
done. Yeah.
Actually, no, I do. I need Herbert and Eckler to have good games, and that's about it. But all right, boys, let's go enjoy some football. Good show. On Wednesday's show, we're going to be doing our awards the rest of the way, right? Is that what we're going to be trying to
Oh,
do
yeah.
here?
Second half.
In fantasy trivia.
And we're going to do a little
Ooh.
fantasy trivia at the midway point. So that'll be fun too. All right. So for Mike, G Money, Andy, I'm Doug. We'll see you guys next time. Later.
Later, fellas.